So today I'm going to show you a little painting demonstration about how to create glazes that create the look of lights at night. So in this large painting that I'm working on, I've already laid in all of the white lights, and there's already a little bit of glaze on there, but not very much. And what I'll be doing first is I'll be increasing the opacity of the white that I've already established on the painting. Then the second step is I start to use transparent glazes of color over top of that white. Okay, so that was the first session of putting the white, opaque white in. Probably, to be honest, that's probably the third or fourth layer because I'd already laid it in. But I'm looking at it now, and you can see this area is really brightening up a lot, right? So that's gonna probably need one more layer of white, and then I can start putting the color on. I stopped around right there, and that is where I'm gonna pick up again in the next time lapse. Okay, so I've laid the next layer of white, and now I'm gonna work on putting some of these glaze colors in. And you can see in my source image here that there's a lot of color going on there in the bottom of the painting. And it's important to note at this point, when you're working on a painting like this, I'm working on the bottom right now, but as soon as I lay in this glaze, I'm gonna go back in with a transparent gray, and I'm gonna correct some of the drawing in here. So when I'm looking at this, I need to reestablish this building, and I want to correct some of what's happening down here. So it's not a process where you A, B, C, D, and you're done. Like a lot of times, I'll do a layer of glaze. Like this will really be my second layer of color glaze. And then I will go through with the gray and kind of clean up all the light areas so that they're a little bit more defined. So then I'll go over the white again, and then I'll go over with the color again. And I'll probably repeat that process 5 or 6 times if I'm lucky, but I would say mostly on average I end up doing about 10 or 12 passes with the glaze to really get the glow that I want. Now, I also still have some work to do on the sky part of the painting, and I'm holding off on that for now because if you complete one part of the painting before you've really finished like the whole overall painting, then the pieces of the painting don't gel. So I got the sky like 70% finished, right? Then I'm gonna work on the buildings and the glow, and I'll get them about 70% finished, and then I'll go back to the sky for a little while, and then I'll go back to the city for a little while, and I'll start to work that horizon line between the two areas of the painting. Because I'm working with an airbrush, there's a lot of mist, and so that mist kind of flies around all over the painting. And so it's important that you don't have any hard edges that you put in right at the end of the painting, right? So for these glazes, I'm gonna be using a couple different colors today. So the first color I have is, it's just a kind of cheesy Createx brand paint. And this is bright red. I think it kind of acts a little bit like a pyrrole red if it's golden. And then I have golden paints here. So this is pyrrole orange. Pyrrole orange looks like this. And I've added airbrush medium to all of these colors to make them even more transparent. So these colors are already transparent. I'm gonna make them more transparent. This is a Secret Weapon, diaurylide yellow. I use a lot of this color. And then this painting weirdly has a lot of straight up I tried a bunch of different swatches, but straight up phthalo green is gonna be a lot of the windows. And then finally, I've got some fluorescent blue that I'm gonna use as well. Now, normally when you're making a painting, it's not a great idea to use colors straight out of the tube, but remember, because I'm working with an airbrush, a lot of the layering that I'm gonna be doing is actually happening within the painting itself, because I may have a layer of that red, but then some of that pyro yellow is gonna go on top. So these I mix a lot of color in the cups before I start painting, but I also do a lot of mixing in the painting itself, and sometimes I just mix directly in the airbrush cup. Now there's some other colors in here that I can see, like I see some magenta, I see some purple, I see some bright phthalo blue, I see a little bit of yellow iron oxide, and for sure some like forest green kind of color in the bottom where there's some trees. But because that's like really detailed color, I'm gonna wait until I've got the sky mostly resolved, because those colors are the ones that are gonna pop right at the end of the painting. So I'm gonna suit back up and then we'll do some glazing. Okay, so now I have finished that first initial layer of glaze with the color. And you can see it doesn't look like I did a lot, right? Like you can see there's swaths of yellow and red and blue in the painting. Now, the thing that I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna go back in with the gray and I'm gonna refine the buildings. So on the tops of the buildings and along the horizon line, I just wanna establish those edges a little bit more now, so that as I continue to glaze the rest of the painting, those edges will integrate with the rest of the painting and not sit on top. I kinda wanna bury them under the paint a little bit. So I'm not gonna do the next layer of white yet. So first I'm gonna go in with the gray, and then once I have the gray kind of cleaning up the lower part of the painting, I'm gonna go back in, and that whole first step I did with the white, I'm gonna do that entire step again, except for this time, I'm only gonna use a little bit of white, so that some of that corona of the color that I laid just now will continue to shine through. Okay, so I just finished the reestablishment of the gray, which helped me make everything a little bit more accurate. So I'm done painting for today. I think tomorrow what I'm gonna do is actually repeat everything that I did today. So I'm gonna start with another layer of white all the way through the painting, make a few more corrections, then I'll do another layer of color glaze, and then I'll probably skip the gray and then just go back and forth with the color and the white. And if you look at the painting, you can see that there are parts of it where you can really see big pieces of white, like right here, or like specific pieces of color, like this green right here. So those areas start to become landmarks for me when I'm filling in the rest of the glazing. So I kind of focus on these clusters of the painting where the color is really clear, and it's something that I can always go back to if I get lost, because when you're painting something like this with a bunch of lights and it's like this small city thing, it's actually really easy to lose your place. So I'll be back tomorrow and we'll do another layer on the city section of this painting.